So in this next introductory video, we're going to continue our journey across the top portion of the Fusion 360 workspace. We previously looked at the data panel. I'm now going to move to the next icon along, which is the file menu. Now this has a number of different options in the drop down menu. You can do save or save as from this particular menu. Save as can be really useful if you want to save a copy of your original design and then go off and modify it and leave the original untouched. So that's a really useful feature. Down below that you've got export. Export allows you to actually take the file and export it out and save it as a copy onto your hard drive and maybe share that with somebody who doesn't have Fusion 360, and there's a number of different file formats you can export in. At the very top you've got the ability to create a new design, or the next option down is a thing called new design from file, and when I click on that, that allows you to go and select a file that's maybe something that someone's given you that's in a different format. And if I click on this one for instance and go open, it's going to open that directly in Fusion 360 without me having to go through the upload feature that we looked at in the data panel. Next to that you've got the save icon. Next to that some really useful tools in the undo and the redo button. If we then track across the top of the file menu, then we'll see we've got this clock, which is actually giving you an indication as to whether you're working online, whether you're working offline, or if there's any problems at the Autodesk end that they're working on, it will be flagged in this particular area. Next to that you should see your name, or the name that you registered your Fusion 360 account under, and the useful thing to show you here is this thing called preferences. Now preferences is where you can actually set things within Fusion to make it look and behave the way you want it to behave. Now there's an awful lot of menus in here. We're currently looking at the general menu, but there's a lot of these sub menus and they've all got different options within them. I'm really just going to concentrate on a couple of these. Under the general menu, which is the one that we're looking at now, you can choose for instance what graphics driver your computer's using to run Fusion 360. How long it will actually cache information if you happen to be offline, so it will continue to save this locally to your computer if you don't have a internet connection. Down below that you've got an automatic recovery save time option. By default Fusion saves your designs in the background every 5 minutes, so that's where you can adjust that if you want that to be longer or shorter. The next one down is something I just want to point out. I believe Fusion 360 ships with the standard default modeling orientation of Y up. Most 3D modeling activities and where you use them downstream generally uses Z as the vertical axis. So X and Y are the horizontal axes and Z is the vertical axes. So probably best at this point to actually change that to Z up. It's going to make your life a little easier further downstream if you're using Fusion 360 for things like 3D printing. Down below that there's a thing called pan, zoom, orbit shortcuts. You can actually set Fusion to work the way it would work with certain other CAD programs, so that can be quite useful if you're onboarding from maybe another CAD program. But they're all underneath the general menu. The only other one I want to point out is the preview menu at the very bottom. The preview is your ability to actually elect to join in on previewing some features that haven't formally been released into the software yet. So this is giving you an advanced preview of some things that will be coming along later, and it's usually a good idea to opt into these and accept that you're going to be able to use them. So that's preferences. Next to that is the question mark. The question mark is the help menu. This is a very, very powerful menu. If you do get stuck at any point on anything in Fusion 360, do type it into the search menu. There's an enormous amount of help there, both from Autodesk and from the community who's using Fusion 360. There's also some useful resources at the top that will help you with your learning, and the gallery is a fantastic place to go to see what other people are doing in Fusion 360. So if you're looking for inspiration and what people have actually designed in Fusion 360, then this is the place to go. So that pretty much covers the top portion of the Fusion 360 workspace. We're now going to move down in the next video into the workspace itself.